Okay, this is factoring using distributive property part 2. So for this one, now I have 4 terms. So this is going to be factoring by grouping. So you can group it, and I'm going to group it in groups of 2. And the reason I'm going to group it this way is because I know that 4 and 8 are both divisible by 4, and these are both divisible by 3. Now I'm going to find the greatest common factor of these two. So I'm only going to factor these two right now. So I have 2 times 2 times x times y. 2 times 2 times 2 times x. So greatest common factor would be 2 times 2 times x. So 4x. There's my greatest common factor. Put it outside parentheses. What do I have left? Y plus 2. Now I'm going to do the other group. 3y and 6. And this one, the greatest common factor is 3. So I put it outside parentheses. And again, I have y plus 2. Okay, so here's something you have to watch for. Once I've done this, I'm going to put a plus sign between the two. And notice I should, if done correctly, have the exact same thing inside the parentheses. Notice how those are the same. Y and the 2, y and the 2. That is your goal. Now, this is not my answer. This is not the form. It needs to be written like this. So go ahead and take a look at that. Put a star by that, because a lot of people will leave their answer like this, and you're going to lose points. Notice where these numbers come from. It's not hard. 4x is that one. This is 3, and this is the common shared parenthesis. So take some extra notes on that so you understand it. Okay, let's do another example. Okay, we're going to do this one. So I'm going to find the greatest common factor. I'm going to group these two because they're both divisible by 3, and those two because they're both divisible by 4. So 3np equals 3 times n times p. 15p equals 3 times 5 times p. Greatest common factor, 3p. So I have 3p. What do I have left? N plus 5. Now you can always multiply this back out, see if you get back to your original answer. Let's do the next one. Alright, so I factored this out. I'm looking for what is common. -1, 2, and 2. So I'm getting my greatest common factor is -4. -4. And then what's left? N plus 5. Okay, so I have succeeded because I can see that what's in the parentheses and what's left is the same on both sides. But here's the tricky part. Make sure you write your answer. It's 3p minus 4 n plus 5. So 3p minus 4, then n plus 5 is your shared common parenthesis. Okay, we're going to look into the zero product property. And it seems very simple, but it's something that people miss all the time and ask lots of questions on. So let's look at a few examples. What we need to know is when we multiply two things, and I'm going to put this in parentheses to show you. So I'm trying to solve for x here. But what I want you to know is that if you're multiplying two things and the answer or the product is 0, one of the factors must be 0. So instead, if I put, so either this is 0 or this one is 0. So one of those has to be 0. So if I'm multiplying these two things, 7 and x, I know 7 is not 0. So that means, since it's not this one, that x is 0. Let's look at another example. This time I have x and y. I know one of these has to be 0, so I'm multiplying x and I'm multiplying y. So in this case, I really just don't know. I know x is equal to 0 or y is equal to 0. Okay, now let's look when it gets a little more complicated. Remember, when I have these parentheses, one of these parentheses has to equal 0. That's your 0 product property. When you're multiplying two things, the product is 0, one of these must be 0. Well, this time, I have this. Oops. Okay, it's a little more complicated, but I know one of these has to be 0, so I put x plus 4 here, x minus 5. One of these is equal to 0. So set up your two equations. Either x plus 4 equals 0 or x minus 5 equals 0. Then you just solve for x. Minus 4, x is equal to negative 4, or x is equal to 5. Because a 5 put in this set of parentheses would make this 0, and a negative 4 put in here would make this 0. So again, take special note of this. One of these has to be 0. So I simply set up two equations. Either this one is 0 or this one is 0. Write extra notes. Do extra practice. This is something people struggle with. Don't assume you're going to remember it. Write the notes as if you will remember nothing on the next day, and so that the notes will be helpful to you. Remember to take the Edmodo quiz. Rewatch any parts of this that you need.